So this video is for M2 of the custodial environment assignment. So I'm going to discuss and analyse how positive relationships not only make a difference to the offender, but how it also affects the wider society as a whole. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the good aspects that come from the offender if they make positive relationships within prison. So I feel that the main benefit for the prisoners is that although with these relationships they're able to better themselves. So many prisoners within the United Kingdom aren't able to read or write to basic standards, with 8 out of 10 being unable to fulfil basic requirements within these sections, which could lead them to being unable to get a good job or any job on the outside, which could have led to them offending. With the toe-to-toe system, it allows a positive relationship to grow between the new prisoners that need help and have just come into prison and the trusted inmates who have changed their ways to fit in with society. This programme is working to better the less intellectual prisoners so that they'll be able to make a difference once they're released and get the job that they've always wanted. So a benefit for the wider society is that having a positive relationship with those within prisons could calm the offender down and make them see the differences in their behaviour, especially if the reason behind why they committed the offence was because it was all they knew. By having these relationships with probation or prison officers, it can lead to them being more trusting of those within the job role, making a less divided society. It would help the families and friends cope with the offender being in prison if they can see that they're being looked after and helped instead of what you hear on the news, especially when ex-prison guards are still admitting that they have abused the inmates that they worked with. By seeing that the prison officers have the inmates' intentions at heart, it could change the viewpoint within society of how the prison service is known. So now I'm going to talk about the negatives. So a negative of positive relationships to the inmate is that if they had a negative view towards those working within the public sector, especially if they've been put inside to a gang-related crime, they could have negative feelings towards those who are nice and are working with the officers instead of working against them. Especially as some inmates, although it's not allowed, are getting involved with the officers romantically. This could lead to a rise in prison crime and death, which would kind of undo the reasoning behind positive relationships between those working within prisons and prisoners, as they're still committing crime, they're just doing it within prison instead of outside. So a negative of positive relationships between prisoners and prison officers is to the wider society, is that the prisoners with these relationships could take advantage of it. Prison officers want what is best for the prisoner who they are helping, which would leave them vulnerable. An example of this was in 2013 when 2 prison officers, Julie Turton and Rebecca King, were put in prison for supplying drugs and phone credit onto the phone of those who have been helping, which of course is illegal, and they were actually put in prison for it.